After a huge opening round a week ago, it's time to go straight through into Armour All qualifying tonight for the BP Ultimate Supercars All-Stars E-Series. Chad Nailon and Jonathan Simon to steer the first hour of the coverage live on Fox Sports. How exciting is this? Jonathan, let's just start by talking about last week. It was massive.
Certainly, and it's only right we bring you qualifying coverage now. It was that exciting off-air last week. Can't wait to see these drivers lapping away at some of the two best tracks in the world right now.
Yeah, with some of the best drivers joining us in the world as well. We've got Max Verstappen lining up tonight, and he should know these tracks pretty well. Let's have a look at what is on the menu for tonight. And first, starting with Armour All qualifying. How cool is this? Silverstone and Barcelona. We finally get to see what a supercar would be like around these tracks. Tracks that, like I said, Max knows well and has won at. But you might notice there's no qualifying for race 5, and there's a reason for that.
And that will be a reverse grid event based on the results of race 4. And that's going to be ever so thrilling, ever so exciting. Races 4, 6 are going to be the shorter events. Races 5 and 7 will be our longer format. And based on last week's reverse grid format, Chad, I tell you what, if it goes down to the final lap again today, we'll be laughing.
Yeah, so 4 races. That was an absolute thriller between Jack LeBrock and Anton De Pasquale last week. Really looking forward to this. Some historic tracks, particularly Silverstone, with over 70 years of Formula One history that's been celebrated there. Let's hear what our Supercars stars have to say about it in our Logitech track preview.
Silverstone was one of the last racetracks I got to race on in 2011. Actually, Kevin Magnussen beat me there in the last race in F3, but I have some really good memories there.
One of the lucky few that's actually had the privilege of racing there. I used to live only 5 miles from Silverstone for about 3 years, so maybe I've got a little bit of a sneaky advantage.
It's always special to race at tracks where F1 goes, heaps of flow, kind of mixture of new school, old school.
It's a track that I enjoy, the old Turn 1 Cops. It's a pretty exciting corner, it's fast. I think it's going to be 4th or 5th gear for us. And you got hanger straight. Hopefully we can get some drafting there and some big moves into the hairpin off the back of that.
We head into Stowe, down into Abbey and Woodcote. Some really amazing, famous corners that have got so much history over the years. So I love Silverstone. There's some really nice corners there. It's got a beautiful flow to it, and it's going to be special to race there in the simulator in this year.
It's really cool to hear of the real-world experience that our Supercars stars, the lucky few, have had at that track. I'm sure Neil and Matty will be able to expand on that a little bit later when we get into the racing. Time for our first chat of the night. It's going to be Cam Waters, who currently sits second in the BP Ultimate standings. Cam, nice setup, buddy. You're looking ready to rip tonight.
Yeah, been doing plenty of laps. So, yeah, so far so good. Obviously, the other guys are pretty fast out there. But if I can mix it up there somewhere, I'll be happy.
We had our first taste of a Grand Prix circuit last week with Monza. Your opening lap was one to remember. Can you talk us through what happened from your point of view?
Oh, mate, I had absolutely everything going on. So, yeah, I got a pretty good start, and then you had a massive amount of rear lock until all the crash happening at once. So I cut through, got a penalty, and then Chaz and I were serving our penalty, and then someone hit me on the inside, and then it all just went off. So lucky to somehow get my car fixed, come out in the lead somehow. Yeah, it was a good race after that.
All right, well done, buddy. Good job on finishing on the podium. Best of luck tonight up against Max. I'm looking forward to the energy drink wars. Best of luck in qualifying.
Thanks, mate. We'll get the Monster Energy car up there.
Gave me a chance to get the plug in. This is going to be really exciting. How is Max Verstappen going to go? Well, here might be a little bit of a clue, Jonathan. This was in practice. Old buddy squaring off.
We were having a peek at this, weren't we, behind the scenes, and they got... this was pretty clean. This is through Luffield, so this is through the middle of the lap, and these two have been mates in sim racing for many years now through their sim racing team, which is known as Team Redline. So they've gotten all too familiar with each other, and they're still alongside each other.
It wasn't a bad little battle. They were side by side through about half a lap, which is extremely difficult around Silverstone in a supercar. Give each other plenty of room. There's been plenty of shade thrown between these two on Instagram this week as well. I noticed Max called Shane Pasta Maldonado. That was a little bit of a clip across the ears. And Shane, I think we'll have a chance to beat him on the track tonight, but I've got to say, Max Verstappen in free practice times earlier was very, very fast.
Certainly, it's one of his favourite circuits as well as Silverstone. I think it's on everybody's favourite circuit list, of course, too. An awesome track, as you can see on screen. Brand new to iRacing last year. So we've got the awesome loop layout. We don't have the bridge layout that we're using today, so it's the Grand Prix circuit that has been in use since 2011, as qualifying is going to commence for the first time this series.
All right, just 10 minutes to get the job done as well. So this is going to be very, very quick work. Try and find some track position. Try and find a lap in Armour All qualifying, and have a look at that. That is the view inside every single one of these drivers' setups right now. Looking forward to chatting with the pole sitters in our Cooper's Live chats as we go. And they've got just 10 minutes to find a lap. Strategically speaking, that's going to be difficult.
It certainly is. It's a very long lap around Silverstone, so we're expecting our front runners to be around the low 2-minute range, and that means you can only squeeze in about 5 laps. And here's our field. Is that a slow motion graphic, or is this real time?
They're
just trying to find
foxing at the moment, trying to find their own little bit of road at the moment.
I mean, that just goes to show how difficult traffic's going to be. So at the best of times, Chad, you can only squeeze in 5 laps. We're expecting 2 of those to be hot laps, unless you want to do a good 3-lap run. But I don't think the tyres are going to last for 3 laps.
Okay, so that gives you a bit of an insight as to how to get this job done. A reminder, you can also watch along the action on the driver's personal Twitch accounts as well. There was a lot of people watching Scott McLaughlin chat with Richard Harris last week, his race engineer, and particularly the late race drama at Monza was very interesting. It's Fabian Coulthard with his amazing SimWorks setup.
Nabbed the podium,
about
didn't he?
$25,000 worth of gear that he's using inside there. That's a pretty handy setup. He was really quick last week when he picked up that podium.
I mean, it all started on the first lap, really, avoiding the carnage. And, I mean, there is literally no clean air out there on the racetrack. Dirty air is a thing. It's simulated too. So if you're stuck behind someone, you're going to find yourself in trouble. And there's Anton de Pasquale with a new teammate this round.
Yeah, Will Brown steps up to the main drive, which was shock news this week. Dave Reynolds had mixed fortunes, and certainly 1 or 2 drivers in the field questioning how serious Dave was taking it. We did enjoy the live chat we had with him in race 2, the reverse grid race at Phillip Island, but Anton was really the force for Penrite Racing. In car 99, he picked up both of those Armour All Pole Awards last week.
I do miss Super Mario. It was funny.
He was always going to bring his own flavour to it, Dave Reynolds, but now it's Will Brown, who's equally a character as well. If you're really into your iRacing knowledge, as we still get ready for these fast laps to come in, you might know that Will Brown is sometimes known as Leanne on iRacing, and that's because his mum Leanne paid for his iRacing account about 5 years ago, and poor Will didn't realise that the name stuck in the game, and he's still being known as Leanne Brown to this day. But it's Will Brown that we're going to check out, and can he pull a lap together with his teammate Anton de Pasquale, strategically following him out on track. But here's the man on everyone's lips.
So Verstappen's pretty new to the supercar, and he is still quick. He's quick in almost everything. He does spend about 4 to 6 hours a day on his simulator when he's not committed to Formula One. So that goes to show why he's so quick in these cars, as we ride on board with the Aston Martin Red Bull racing driver.
Totally different beast to what he's used to driving in the real world environment, but was a natural talent as soon as he arrived in Formula One and made his first drive at Red Bull count when he picked up the race win at Catalonia, became the youngest ever race winner in Formula One at just 18 years of age. 4 years on, and he's still very quick. But how's he going to go in his first Supercars race, albeit virtually? Through Stowe, it's quick. A little bit more patience in one of these cars than you'd have to deal with in a Formula One car. We're not too far away from getting these first fast laps in. And that was really cool watching him hustle up through Maggots and Beckett's. Looking forward to seeing his progress throughout the night. To Bryce Fullwood, and he's the only driver in the field using a virtual reality setup on a Motum simulator. He was really quick last week, surprised a lot of people.
And there's talks behind the scenes as well that he will be quicker this week. So very intrigued to see this first qualifying time, but he's run a bit deep there through Stowe. That can delete your lap time. This iRacing service automatically polices that, and if you put 4 wheels off the white lines through there, it will delete your time. So let's see as Fullwood crosses the line here, whether or not this will count.
So McLaughlin is quick early. Nice lap from Scott McLaughlin. Anton De Pasquale slots into second at the moment. Mostert now goes to third, showing his speed from last week.
And just as I said, Chad, no time for forward. So it was deleted. So he's going to be under immense pressure as we watch our championship leader. He's been so busy testing with IndyCar that I'm very surprised right now he's leading the top of these timing screens. I think it just goes to show how immensely talented this young man is.
Yep, Scott McLaughlin just hops back in his natural environment and goes quick. Gee, it's really tight though at the top between McLaughlin, De Pasquale and Mostert. There is Scotty, racing in his socks, going bootless as he did last week, as you may have seen on Twitch. Up through Maggots and Beckett's now, halfway around this lap. Probably going to be an in-lap. There's time to come in, throw a fresh set of tyres and go back out for one more quick run in Armour All qualifying. Chris Pither had an up and down event the opening round. Certainly the Monza race got caught up in a bit of trouble, namely with Cam Waters. He's also been working on a Motum simulator last week and gone full motion this week.
Jesus.
And added virtual reality. So 2 drivers in the field using VR, but no one using that level of motion simulation. That's pretty cool down at Motum.
We saw one of the IMSA drivers had their motion rig just collapse.
Yeah, it was one of the Taylors, wasn't it? Ricky Taylor, I think it might have been. Had such a big crash at Monza and the NASCAR race that it tipped over on its side.
Well, look at this now. So behind the scenes now, off camera, we're watching a lot of drivers enter the pits. So I said you could squeeze in 5 laps into this session, and 2 of those would be hot laps. So at the moment, everybody's opting for a 1-lap run, a hot lap, then to come in, they're going to take a fresh set of tires, and what this is going to do is deplete that fuel down just by a touch. Everybody has to start their stint with 65 litres in, so if you can get that fuel down as low as possible at the end of this session, you're good to go for a quick lap time.
Here's Nick Percat in the Dunlop Super Dealer Brad Jones racing car. We're about 45 seconds away from that little marker that you mentioned. I love that. He's got the family watching on in the background. That'll be Nelson fast asleep. Doesn't look like he's too interested at the moment. These are the things you can do with a virtual world. I'm not sure how supercars feel about Nelson going for a ride in the real life supercar.
Oh, let's do it. Someone get him in there.
I think if you're a Nick Percat fan, you'll know how Nick carries his dogs practically everywhere with him, to the go-kart track, road trips to Adelaide, back for family Christmases. He carries a cool little decal of his 2 dogs on the helmet. There he is, fast asleep in the dog bed.
That is lovely.
A couple handy karting trophies in the background over at Nick's place as well. To another former go-kart driver that was very quick in his youth, in the Irwin Tools Team 18 entry, it's Mark Winterbottom. This car looks amazing this year for season 2020, the ZB Commodore.
Yeah, this is interesting now for Winterbottom because he's at the bottom of the timing screens. He's got a 2:15 in, so he's 15 seconds off the pace. So this will be his quick run, but I don't think he's going to improve his next lap. So this might be it for Winterbottom because the tyres just aren't going to last for the next 2 minutes. And he's got a boatload of traffic up ahead here on the hangar straight at Silverstone. And as I talked about, there's a lot of dirty air too, so when he steers into this corner, he's going to pick up a lot of understeer.
He's just dragging that right front tyre as he pushes through the mid-corner. He ran with the leaders last time out at Monza, and he's locked the rears. Big Scandinavian flick as he tries to get this thing turned in, and around he goes, just like he did at the chicane last week. So that lap is out the window, and he'll be lucky to start another one, but will he have the tyre life to get home with a minute to go? Here comes Verstappen.
Very quick Verstappen. So the story was he drove this car 2 weeks ago and had no clue that you just had to blip on your downshifts. So he was using his hand clutch at 100% and with full rear lock through every corner. So he was about a second off the pace, and then we had a chat after the race and we had quite a good laugh at him, and I think afterwards he said, oh, okay, I'm not going to be slow anymore in this thing. And look at him now. He's about P7 on the timing screens officially, and he's still got room to improve. Let's see how he goes for the rest of this lap as he approaches the end. I think this should be the beginning of a run.
Crosses over, and this will be a hot lap now for Max Verstappen, who did do a flat 2-minute lap time in practice earlier today. He's done a 2:01 in this session, so needs to find something. It's a battle again between McLaughlin and De Pasquale at the top.
I think Anton has by far shown us he was the quickest driver at round one, but didn't have the luck on his side, and he's a very competitive young man as well. And you saw him get quite salty after that race 2 interview, and
That's the word for it.
I don't blame you. He did put in a lot of work into that. So far, he's second quickest behind Scotty Mack, who's been so impressive as we flick back onto Verstappen on this lap. And when you look at the intermediate time so far, Verstappen doesn't look good for pole position so far, but for Anton de Pasquale, he could improve to P1.
Yeah, Anton with a purple sector through sector 2 at the moment. Is that going to be enough to see him sneak up towards the top? Checkered flag flying now. And for Max Verstappen, a chance still to try and claw up a few more spots. And Anton is flying.
Anton's at the final corner now, so any time we could see him skyrocket up to the top of the Cooper's leaderboard on the left-hand side of the screen. Through the final corner, there is Anton de Pasquale, and across the line he goes. That is pole position for our Penrite Racing driver.
Well picked, Jonathan. So going for 3 from 3. Anton de Pasquale, very, very quick once again. Has anyone got an answer for him? Chaz Mostert's gone quick to the second sector. May have just crossed the finish line to finish the session. Who else has an answer? What about Max? 201.3, his best. If he can replicate the time he did in practice, it would be enough to put him on the front row.
Certainly would. Oh, that could delete his lap time. I think he's kept it within the track limits by a touch. Now, where's he gone?
He's gone up 1 spot to 6th. So it's not a bad effort. First crack, Max Verstappen parks the car in 6th and is 4/10 off pole. That's a huge effort from Max Verstappen in his first crack, driving a supercar in a real session against the other supercars drivers, and he has come out looking very, very good. Exciting session, ran relatively trouble-free, which could be a sign of things to come tonight. We hope, because we certainly got more carnage last week in both of the qualifying sessions. I can't believe the one thing we had last week was fans asking for less crashes. I never thought I'd see the day. But this is how it's all boiled down. Your BP Ultimate results after qualifying. Anton de Pasquale, with the very last lap of his session, sneaks pole by just 49 thousandths of a second. And all the heavy hitters are at the top. But Max Verstappen, very impressive. 4/10 off pole. Will Brown, his first night joining the competition, and has parked himself in there with some pretty good company. Bryce Ford couldn't quite follow on his efforts from last week. And it's going to be about, once again, car 99 and Penrite Racing. It's Anton de Pasquale. And he is really quick in qualifying, Trim.
That's his 3rd pole position for the season. The dude is unstoppable. And he is just, I mean, on a mission right now towards claiming his first race win. He had a pseudo win, didn't he, Chad, last round for race number 2, but this time he'll be gunning for it for race number 4 at Silverstone.
Well, that was really, really cool. Well done to Anton de Pasquale and to Penrite Racing. They made a pretty big call in subbing in Will Brown, and he'll be starting out of 11th today. So that is the first of 3 qualifying sessions done. A quick break, and on the other side, we head off to Barcelona. This is why it's called the BP Ultimate Supercars All-Stars E-Series, because all of the stars from the Supercars Championship are here, including both of the unit brothers, Jake Kostecki and Zane Goddard, having a little bit of fun. And we are ready for our first Cooper's Live chat with our Armour All pole man from race number 4. Well done to Anton de Pasquale. Good job, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, mate. It's good to get another pole. It was pretty close, so I think it's going to be an awesome race.
Barcelona up next for 2 qualifying sessions and a pair of races tonight. What experience do you have with the European tracks?
Not too much. I've done Silverstone before in 2015 in Formula Renault. Never Barcelona, though. I live sort of 20 minutes away and never got to race or drive here. So it's cool doing it in the virtual world.
It's obviously Max's, I guess, playground. He lives and breathes these tracks. What sort of influence do you think he's going to have tonight? Pretty good first effort, 6 for him in qualifying.
Yeah, mate, the guy's a good driver, and he's known to be one of the better guys in the world at this sim stuff. So it's cool to have him on board, and hopefully have some good races, and he brings the crowd and all that stuff. So it'll be awesome.
Finally, I think the word Jonathan used to describe your response to the penalty last week was salty. I think that's fair. We're going to get you a win tonight, or what?
Yeah, mate, I'll have a crack. I'm just having fun, putting on a good show and doing all that. So we'll see how we go.
It was an inspired drive in that reverse grid race last week. Best of luck tonight, buddy.
Cheers, guys. Thanks.
I love this access, being able to chat to all of the drivers in the All-Star E-Series, and that is what the circuit looks like from above. And you may notice that we are running on the slightly older version of the circuit, which doesn't include the last couple of corners in the chicane and the lead up to that last sector.
It's officially known as the historic layout, and it brings us back to what Formula One ran here in MotoGP for many years before they added that final chicane, and into the hairpin as well at turn 11. We're also, or turn 10 actually, we're also using a longer radius left-hander. So you'll see that over the next 2 qualifying sessions. These determine the grids for races 6 and 7 this evening, and almost contact in qualifying.
Well, that was Max Verstappen finding his way through the traffic, which was only the guy who's taken the last 3 pole awards. So Anton's buried in the pack here. It was the second lap that time by that, well, the second run on green tyres, that was the lap that netted pole position. But if you go back to Monza, it was actually the very first lap of the session that Anton laid down that was good enough to hang on.
And see, that's very weird, because the way it works on iRacing is that this track rubbers in just as it would in the real world. And if you have a deeper look, if you're watching on Fox Sports HD, you've got high definition coverage to look at the track, and you'll actually see a difference in color at some of the corners in the tarmac. It's slightly darker where the racing line is. And so you want to get out to be the last driver out across the line to finish your run. You don't want to be the first one to do it. It's surprising how quick Anton is, that he was able to set pole at the beginning of a session.
A couple of other cars that we didn't get to check in with in that first session. Here comes Andre Heimgartner, but he has been really quick in qualifying trim as well, and currently sits 4th in the BP Ultimate Points standings and has qualified inside the top 10 in all 3 qualifying sessions so far. So good form from the Kelly Racing Ned Racing driver.
His teammates got an upgrade as well. Rick Kelly, almost called him Todd Kelly there for a second, Jesus. And he, do you see the screens he had now? Goodness me. And credit to LG, I think, who supplied him with those.
Yep. 3 55-inch screens to almost completely surround Rick Kelly for tonight. Big step up for him.
He's got to make sure he's got them on gaming mode or something, otherwise the response rate will be a bit laggy. So hopefully someone's told him to do that, as we watch Scott Pye here, who, I tell you what, was a bit off the pace last week, but so far in the testing times for Barcelona, he's been impressive. So let's see how he fares as he approaches the first couple of corners.
Another one of the drivers who's taking initiative to start his own Twitch account, so multiple ways to follow on the coverage. I think that's what was so exciting about last week. We were live on Fox Sports, which was fantastic, and then on top of that, so many different ways to watch the action and hear the action as well, because the live chat between driver and engineer last week was a lot of fun.
And there is Rick Kelly. And that's how you discovered, actually, Scott McLaughlin's fuel issues
last week.
We were keeping track of his Twitch chat, who also convinced him he had a penalty, I think. I think he assumed he had a penalty, which was...
added a little bit of confusion at the end of that race, didn't it?
Even to his interview. But Rick Kelly was... So I got down to the bottom of the helicopter incident. Okay. Which I'm surprised Rick Kelly, by the way, is out on the racetrack right now. He's made the trip to the hospital and returned. So he was alongside Anton de Pasquale. He misjudged the racing line. He got sent into the barrier. He's one flying back onto the racetrack. Jamie Whincups tried to avoid him, and he's the one who sent him into the helicopter spin.
Right.
Zane Goddard's gone, oh, do I go left, right? And he's like, nah, mate, I'm going straight into you, and sent him. It didn't show it on camera, but he landed at the apex of turn 1. I'm not kidding.
From the start-finish line.
Exclusive coverage for you about what happened behind the scenes there.
There was that, and then there was the big tear up at Monza, which certainly got a bit of a chuckle online, which was good to see. And it's probably a week where a few people needed to have a little bit of a chuckle, so that was good. So now into the thick of things in Armor qualifying, and the first few laps are starting to flow our way. Slightly shorter lap time should lead to one more green flag run, hopefully in this session. Shane Van Gisbergen goes quickest, and Will Brown follows him. So Will's only quite new to the iRacing scenario and sim racing in general. He's really upgraded his gear this week, brand new set of pedals this week, and already paying off. He goes second quickest from McLaughlin, Forward and Heimgartner, as Mostert slots into third, and we've got some big names on their way to the stripe now.
So you should be able to squeeze in about 3 hot laps. And And so far, Verstappen's going to begin his first. He's trying to widen the racetrack there. This is his attention to detail. And you're allowed to do that by a touch. And now through turn 3, you're going to pick up an immense amount of understeer in this supercar. And like we say on iRacing, everything is simulated as it would be in the real world. So for Verstappen right now, these tyres are just going to get hotter throughout the lap if he picks up too much understeer.
Being Grand Prix circuits, typically at home to Formula 1 or MotoGP, track limits could be an issue. And Max has been pinged for track limits, I think, which is why he's backed off this lap. This one's out the window. And he's struggling for time now with less than 5 minutes to go. Here comes his good buddy Shane Van Gisbergen, rocking the white wheels again this week.
So Shane Van Gisbergen currently with a 1 minute 42.06. We're expecting our leaders to be in the 1 minute 41 range. If he doesn't pit this lap, he'll only be able to squeeze one more hot lap into this session, so he's going to continue, and this is what I expected, Chad. You run 2 hot laps early in the session, get the fuel down as much as possible, and then run 1 hot lap at the end. Let's see if Van Gisbergen improves.
42.06 was his time from earlier, no improvement. He stays on top though where he is right now. It's tied back to Anton De Pasquale, who's just jumped his Penrite Racing teammate. Penrite Racing sitting 2nd and 3rd in the order. Even his iRating for Will Brown is so low because he's so new to the game.
Yeah, he wouldn't be allowed to race in this if this was just an official iRacing event. You know, it's that low.
Such a rookie. So that's really good speed from Will Brown.
Similar track temps to Silverstone. It's frozen between each track. And the colder it is, the faster the lap times. It's 20 degrees Celsius as we see someone stricken off the racetrack there.
And Macaulay Jones only caught a flash of blue, electric blue. Flowing part of the racetrack this is SVG hooks the right rear on the curb. And it looks like he's going to do a hard reset into pit lane here. Is he just trying to get out of the way? Thought about it.
It's very interesting there. I wouldn't hard reset because, like I said,
fill the tank.
Exactly.
It's like he went to do it, then remembered. Here's Scott McLaughlin.
Now, Scotty's under pressure here because, as far as I know, he's down in P5. There is no reverse grid event for Barcelona, so do not get confused there. There's a second or a final qualifying session coming up, the 3rd of the day, but that will determine the grid for the final race at Barcelona as we watch Scotty here on an outlap, I presume. And he's got a lot of work to do so far, and like I said, his schedule has been absolutely packed with all his IndyCar practice, racing in the virtual world, finished 2nd the other day at Michigan. And if you listen back to his onboard point of view on his streams, the way he works with his engineer JD is so impressive.
Yeah, they were really, really quick together last week. Picked up a couple race wins and was the dominant force all through the opening round. And this is what he does best. Qualifying, he's in another world. Let's ride on board with Scott McLaughlin. It's the old school entrance onto the front straight. Mid-corner speed of about 155 kilometers per hour, long front straight. Reach 6th gear, about 280 clicks at the end. Just crest this little hump before you go into a downhill braking approach. Laid on the brakes, back down to 2nd gear for Scott. Take a little bit of curb on the inside at turn 2. Now turn 3 is long and it puts a lot of weight and pressure on that left front tyre. A little bit of patience there for Scott. Flatten the Formula 1 car, but not the supercar. Up the hill now. Turn 4, back down from 5th gear. Mid-corner speed of a touch over 105 kilometers per hour. Awkward braking zone because it's downhill into turn 5. Back it down to 1st or 2nd gear. Scott had been using 1st gear in practice. Now up the hill, flowing part of the track once again, turn 7. So smooth with his inputs.
Yeah, you want to turn the wheel once. You don't want to be correcting too much. Have a look at turn 9 here, off camber, so easy to lose the rear end. And if he runs wide here, that'll delete his lap. So let's check. There we go. He smacked the wheel, so it's certainly deleted his lap. He's under an immense amount of pressure, Chad.
Well, that's how tight the margins are. And the very best in the supercars are struggling. thump on the steering wheel,
That's it.
a drink of cold water, and he is done for qualifying. And I love how much it means to him. I love that he was genuinely disappointed that he made an error. A rare mistake from McLaughlin. Advantage Van Gisbergen.
Oh, and that's very close as well. That looks like, is that Will Brown on screen? It is. Oh no, sorry, excuse me. That's Anton de Pasquale, the other Penrite car, who is currently in the second position. So if this lap time's deleted, he won't make it to the line for another one, but he's got about 1/10 of a second to make up. And so far, the intermediate times, we don't know.
No, it's not showing us that he's got what he needs on this lap to go to pole, and he rolls off and into pit lane. So he's done, and his streak is over. We know that he won't be on pole. Has anyone got an answer now for Shane Van Gisbergen? One of 2 drivers racing outside of Australia today. He and his buddy Max. Verstappen watch at the moment. Hasn't got a clean lap in yet, so he's down in 23rd position. Keeps getting done for either traffic or track limits.
Yeah, it's one of the 2. Track limits can certainly hamper your run here as Will Brown. That's the end of his session. We watch Cam Waters here, who is second in the championship and certainly impressed me throughout pre-season testing, our unofficial pre-season testing. Now through the final couple of corners here. Believe it or not, this is... Oh, he's lost it, I think, there.
It's a huge lose in a strange spot as well. And overcooks it, disappears out of action. And for Cam Waters, it's going to be a lowly starting spot, and more drama here. And it's the pole man.
That's at the final corner, I think.
SVG caught out, and he will be lucky to go through here with the Armour All pole time. Now first, let's check out what happened to Cam Waters. Just dropped the left rear. Send him into a wild spin.
Oh, did it lift?
Right in front of Shane Van Gisbergen, who then further down the hill had his own moment.
So that's fine on the anti-cut strip to put 2 wheels there, but he's turned in way too early, which is a common occurrence at this final corner because it's a 1 kilometre straight and you want to get the best run out of there, and a bit of a shunt with the ball. Thankfully, in 5 minutes time, Chad, that car will be repaired for the next session.
It wasn't showing any signs of a good lap, but somehow Max Verstappen has popped up in 6th again. And it was at the very, very end of the session after the checkered flag. I was watching his sector times and there was not a lot in it. There's nothing showing up on timing, and then bang, he pulls one out of nowhere and parks the thing in 6th. But well done to Shane Van Gisbergen on your BP Ultimate results. For quali, he has picked up an Armour All Pole award. And there are some big names to watch further down the order. Looking forward to seeing how Will Davison drives through the field because he was really clean last week. And Jamie Whincup in a very, very unfamiliar position, starting out the back. Here comes your Armour All Pole award for what will be race number 6. Remember, race 5 will be reverse grid tonight, and that is a cool shot. Loving the old school white wheels for Shane Van Gisbergen, and that was a really nice lap. 1 minute 42.06. And finally, Anton de Pasquale's run of consistent pole awards has come to an end, but there is still one more qualifying session to go. Thanks to Armour All. A quick break. When we return, we're going to be qualifying once again at Catalunya. Welcome back to the BP Ultimate Supercars All-Stars E-Series. We're walking through on Armour All qualifying tonight. We've got one more session to go from Circuit de Catalunya over in Barcelona. It's been a lot of fun so far. Remember, we go live with Jess and the boys at 7 o'clock up in Sydney. We're the Melbourne crew, and we're having a lot of fun on Fox Sports as we get set for this final qualifying session. One guy who's been really, really quick so far throughout pretty much all of the E-Series so far has been Chaz Mostert. Let's catch up with him in our Cooper's Live chat right now. G'day, Chaz. How you feeling tonight?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks, guys. Just one qualifier to go. The first 2 have been pretty smooth, but man, there's some seriously quick guys on here, so it's just a privilege to be mixing it up with them.
We've all been running some updates. You've run a pretty mean update on your setup there. Can you talk us through your surroundings tonight? It looks a bit different to last week.
Yeah, it is a bit different. Obviously, lucky enough driving a modem simulator. They've had the association with WAU for some time, so... and then obviously put the boards in there, obviously give our sponsors the biggest plug as we can. So thanks to our sponsors for backing us through this period. It's pretty awesome to be racing in the virtual world, and it's still good to have their backing through this tough time.
Your little buddy Bryce has been rocking the virtual reality headset. Any chance of you giving that a crack? Have you tried VR?
I did try VR earlier in the year, but to be honest, I probably feel a bit sickened now. I'm just happy having a stationary screen and just everything else being stationary when you're not fully in control on one of these beasts.
It's a weird feeling the first time you do virtual reality, and I can understand why it makes some people feel really, really sick. Bryce has been living it at the moment. Finally, qualifying. Does it feel any similar at all, the qualifying strategy, to what you guys do in the real world?
Some things a little bit different. There's some things similar. To drive these cars on the virtual world, you still need the same mentality. So the iRacing has done an awesome job with that. There's a couple of things that it's just really hard with the locking compared to what we're used to in the real thing. But that's the thing about the obviously the virtual world is you don't have the same sensors to get the same lap time out of the car. So rely on your eyes more and your hands, and we'll see how we go in this next quali.
All right, best of luck, buddy. The Walkinshaw Andretti United teammates both looking pretty quick last week and looking quick again tonight. We'll let Chaz Mostert get his race face on as we get set for the final qualifying session of the night. It's back to Barcelona, and it was last time Shane Van Gisbergen checking in for his first Armour All Pole Award of the year and breaking the streak of Anton De Pasquale. For Chaz Mostert, he was third in that session, very quick. And Max Watch, a pair of 6 so far for Max Verstappen.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's where he expected himself. It's very tough to determine the pecking order. I still feel like he's got a bit more pace in him at a circuit where, wow, goodness me, that is a multitude of cars coming out of the pits.
That was awesome. If you've ever wondered why we have a pit lane order in supercars in the real world and we funnel them out in a very organised manner, that's why. Because they're competitive and they want to be first anywhere, even if it's the pit exit.
That's the real world on steroids right there.
That was great.
So what we used to do when I was sim racing in the World Championship was I always wanted to be first one out because you get the most TV time on your lap. Problem is, there was one race where I completely binned it into the first corner, so it wasn't the best TV time for my team at that stage. But then again, this is the same qualifying session as we just had. So it's 10 minutes. We're expecting about 3 hot laps, about 5 or 6 total laps for these drivers, depending on the traffic. And so just like you would in the real world, you do the same on iRacing. You've got traffic management, you've got slipstream to deal with from about a second back, and you've also got some dirty air. And these guys right now backing off the pace are going to have some cold rubber for those opening couple of runs.
And this is tough for Macaulay Jones. He's stacked up and there's no way through. And his teammate at Brad Jones Racing, Nick Percat, is in a similar boat to him right now. A lot of drivers really struggled to even get a lap in that last session of 10 minutes, Jamie Whincup included. Jamie will be starting from last when we go racing for race 6 later tonight. This is qualifying for race 7. A reminder, the second Silverstone race tonight will be reverse grid. 4-race format tonight. Playing with things, changing things up, as we did last week. We had the 3 races, and then that final race was quite long at Monza, about 40 minutes.
Love a reverse grid race.
Yep. A lot of fans would dearly love to see that back in IRL, as we say.
You know, the tough part here is it's an unwritten rule where you can't overtake on this lap, really. I mean, there's nothing policing it in this series. Do you become the only guy to do it and then become hated by your peers after a while, as we see Heimgartner come through turn 3 for his first run?
There's definitely a bit of a pecking order to it. I remember Brad Jones Racing about 5 years ago used to try and run in the middle of the session back when Fabian Coulthard and a few of the other older BJR drivers were there. They would run during the middle part of the session, just try and get some clean air.
Just got to hope there's no traffic on those in-laps. So
well, that's the problem. Once you go out of sequence with everyone, people are either coming in or out on a lap, and you're trying to fly around the track. It also shows vividly why we've gone to different forms of qualifying in the real world in the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship, so we have less cars on track at any one time.
How about Barbagallo at the final corner? You know, it's always chaotic right there as we watch. Cameron Waters now on screen, who's on a hot lap 2 to begin his run. He's been so impressive, as I said, and one of the Red Bull cars there behind running wide. So that will delete their lap time. And Heimgartner now through the historical part of Barcelona will head through to turn 12, the right-hander. It's an ever-long radius, 180-degree corner. And if he can nail these couple of fast sweeping corners, he should be at the top of the timing screens. Looks like a good lap so far.
A shallow entrance into turn 14. There it is right there. It gets you a nice exit onto the front straight. Di Pasquale lays down a 1:42.3. Heimgartner half a second off. Zane Goddard, who has raced here in Formula Renault back in 2017, follows him through. Zane's lost a little bit of speed from last week. He was really quick in the opening round, turned a lot of heads. But his pace on the bigger Grand Prix style circuits tonight, not quite there. Van Gisbergen back to the top, 1:42.1. Still not quite into the 41s yet.
I see, I'm expecting some 41, so far the pace, unless the track isn't rubbered up yet, we know it's got a chance to be rubbered up to get these guys go a little bit faster. Let's watch Verstappen here as he crosses the line.
The circuit where he won his first ever Grand Prix, his first ever drive for Red Bull, and he goes to 5th. So that's a really nice lap, a pair of 6th so far for Max. And what has he got in store for us tonight in race trim? Anything can happen. It's just about really staying out of the opening lap carnage to have a crack late in the race.
I love that Milwaukee racing car, by the way. In my opinion, the best looking car on the grid.
You should see it in real life. It is special because the team is owned by a panel beater. And Phil Munday, he was in there mixing the colours. He's like a bit of a crazy scientist when it comes to finding the perfect paint colour. And what's cool about it in real life is that Milwaukee car is painted. It's not wrapped.
Oh, wow.
There's no vinyl on that thing. So it is a really old school looking paint job up close.
We haven't seen much of this man, Jamie Whincup, who's racing back at the factory last week, at least we knew. And I was talking to you during the break chat, and I said, well, how much testing has he...
Drama
no.
here for Whincup. And a few other drivers are going to get caught up in this. I think it was Scott Pye that he drove into the door of. Pye had his own moment, lost the rear and the entrance down there into turn 10. And it caused a little bit of carnage. Now they're all coming in for a fresh set of boots in the later part of this session.
So if you look at the time, let's watch the replay here. He's gone in a bit hot. Yeah, it does look like Scott Pye. And unfortunately, I know Jamie's run a bit wide there, but you have to say that's on Scott for... I don't know, that's a tough one to call. I know Jamie's run a bit wide through the corner too, so I'm going to leave that up to Craig Baird to call.
Yeah, it was a tough one. He's Scott Pye's teammate. Team 18 expanding to 2 cars this year. And there's been a mad rush out of pit lane, so everyone on their second set of tyres. And there is time enough here to get around and start 1, potentially even 2 laps.
I think these drivers might be able to squeeze in a 2-lap run here. Certainly what Frosty's going to be doing, because it's about a 1:40 lap. Well, that's not going to help you run at all as he heads through the gravel trap.
Good news is, though, it's an out lap at the moment for Frosty, I'm pretty sure. So might get away with that one.
Well, what we saw off camera last week, of course, qualifying wasn't broadcasted, but a lot of drivers were being impeded on their hot runs. And this is happening yet again today as Van Gisbergen's on his outlap. And if you have to keep letting guys through, you might be only be able to squeeze 1 run in. And like I discussed, Chad, on iRacing, this track's going to rubber up. So it's going to get quicker as this session ticks down to 0. So you want to be the last man out there, but you don't want to leave it too late.
Bit of traffic here for Shane Van Gisbergen to deal with. Currently sits on top with that 1:42.1. Is there time to come in on this lap and go back out there just for those who haven't made their pit stop yet for a fresh set of tyres?
Well, let's watch how he manages this. Quick anecdote. I jumped into iRacing last year one night around 7 p.m. and SVG and Verstappen are lapping away in the Formula 3 at Road Atlanta. And I'm not kidding. Until 2 a.m. I go back online and they're still there. And I know they probably stepped up for toilet breaks and some stuff in between, obviously, but those guys spent a lot of time with each other in that car, and it was a night where I think they were both pretty close to the world record. Max actually broke it that night as well.
They're committed. They are really, really committed. And remember, Shane is racing over in Auckland and not on his typical sim. So a really huge setup. So we're not too far away from starting our hot laps at the end of this Armour All qualifying session. Who is going to be our pole man tonight? We have had 1 or 2 moments out there already. Good chance to check in with the Gold Coast. And Craig Baird, who is our driving standards advisor. Anything to look for, Berto, in this session so far?
No, obviously there was a bit of contact with Pye and Whincup, but Pye was sort of pulled over to let Rick Kelly go, and then Jamie made a mistake. So both drivers to take a little bit of responsibility. So play on effect there, guys.
Beto, you were one of the poor guys getting beaten around last week for a few big calls. How are we going to be judging things tonight?
Oh, I think a lot of people have spent a lot of time. Every time I log on and have a look who's practicing, the boards are on there. So I think the driving level's just moving from week to week, and they're taking it more and more seriously. And I think you can even see that through qualifying, just watching these sessions. So actually, they're just driving them like real supercars.
Including this man, thank you, Craig, Anton De Pasquale, who's about to finish a lap and is looking really quick through the middle sector. Is this the lap for Anton to go to the top? Elsewhere, Coulthard's just laid down the quickest middle sector of the session, as here comes ADP for Penrite Racing, and it's good. It's really good. A 1:41.99, first of the 41s, and back to the top. Knocks Van Gisbergen down a spot, and this man back down to third. Chaz looking quick once again in the Appliances Online car.
And Verstappen was improving too, but he's got an immense amount of traffic through the middle part of the lap. So let's see how our Walkinshaw boys go in this Armour All qualifying session. Time is ticking down to 0 here, Chad, so this will be it.
Coulthard, a really nice lap, but could only get up to 11th with that quick middle sector. Jake Kostecki rounds out the top 10. Here comes Mostert as we tick over now towards the checkered flag. Last chance for Chaz. Can he get himself up onto the front row?
No improvement for Verstappen, but for Mostert.
Yes, second quickest. Misses the pole by just 26 thousandths of a second, but that is a really nice lap from Chaz. And puts himself on the front row with Anton, continuing his form in the real-world environment from Adelaide, where he parked that thing on the podium. It puts Verstappen down to 5th, so a pair of 6th and a 5th for Max Verstappen, a pretty good effort from him. Anton picks up 2 out of the 3 pole awards tonight. Shane Van Gisbergen picked up the middle one. Scott McLaughlin was quick at Silverstone, not quite as quick here though at Catalunya.
No, not at all. So these guys are not going to be a beneficiary of a reverse grid race. They're going to have to earn it on the racetrack. The good news for this race is strategy will be involved. This grid is for our final race of the day, which has 1 compulsory pit stop involved.
So for Jamie Whincup, again, he's going to be starting off the back of the grid. Couldn't quite get a lap in. And for this guy, Anton De Pasquale, he looks really, really strong in a sim. And the Penrite Racing car has done enough to secure 2 out of the 3 pole awards. You remember, he does have a little bit of real-world experience at Silverstone, but despite living quite close to this circuit, never had a chance to drive the Formula Renault there, but has done numerous laps in iRacing. And this is a track that exists in so many different video games as well, not just iRacing. And for Anton, he put in the perfect lap, a 1:41.99 second lap. And it's Anton De Pasquale who has locked away the final Armour All pole award of the night. So a little bit of a mix-up. Anton clearly the quickest once again over 1 lap, but Shane Van Gisbergen managed to just sneak one in as well.
And it's all about the race, isn't it? At the end of the day, I mean, Anton De Pasquale had 2 pole positions last week and didn't claim a race win. So let's see how he fares in our racing action.
Looking forward to tonight's format. Remember, 4 races. The reverse grid race, everyone's going to be talking about that, but also pit stops to think about tonight as well.
1 CPS, which is a compulsory pit stop, as the rules say. You only need to take 4 tyres. Fuel won't be an issue, and I'm sure Cromper will go about that more in our Hino Hub later tonight. So it's only for races 5 and 7 that we're expecting a pit stop. If you've mucked up qualifying at all, you shouldn't stress as a driver. It just makes your life a little bit more difficult.
And how about Max Verstappen, really, really quick and doing a great job to be inside the top 6 all night.
I'm a big Formula One fan, so I'm not going to defend the guy, but I feel like with a bit more seat time, he could do better. But impressive to see him at the front too, for a guy that said he sim raced, admittedly, 4 to 6 hours a day in his spare time. Very impressive.
All right, let's cross over the Tasman and go live with Shane Van Gisbergen in our next Cooper's Live chat. And well done, Shane. You've managed to put this thing on pole for one of the races tonight. Nice job.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, it's going all right. A bit more consistent tonight and up the front, so that's good. But yeah, the same 4 dudes in the top 4 every race, so pretty awesome.
You had a really tough run last week, mate, and obviously quite a few incidents on track. Are you hoping to shake that off tonight?
Yeah, last week I was involved in the comedy show, which was good and bad, but hopefully we can still have some fun, but do some good racing tonight.
I remember when you helped host the E-Series last year, Max Verstappen was watching over in Europe when we had the Zolder race, and now we're racing with him, which is really, really cool. You're looking forward to going toe-to-toe with your good buddy tonight?
Well, he saw all the crashes last week and got excited, so he messaged me straight away and wanted to get amongst it. He's king at the crash, so I'm sure he'll
There's been plenty of shade thrown around between you two on Instagram this week. Best of luck tonight, mate.
right on.
I'm looking forward to seeing how SVG can go with a couple of good starting positions up his sleeve. So remember, 4 races tonight. Who are the big surprises out of tonight's qualifying sessions that we've seen so far? The Walkinshaw Andretti United guys come to mind there.
So I don't want to call them surprises in particular because I have heard behind the scenes that they've been putting a lot of laps in for sure. Chaz Mostert at Monza by far put in the most practice laps out of any supercar driver out there today. Would have liked to see a better performance from Bryce Fullwood as I look at the timing screens. I don't even think he set a time in the final Barcelona qualifying session. So he's someone who could be our best mover and shaker throughout the field.
Yeah, and remember, we've got Jamie Winkup starting last in a couple of these races tonight. Proof that it can be really, really difficult to get your head around this sim racing environment. So 4 races coming up tonight. We've just had 3 qualifying sessions, and it sets the field perfectly. It's going to be an awesome night of racing. Stick around because we're not far away from going live up in Sydney for the BP Ultimate Supercars All-Stars E-Series. Thanks for watching qualifying.